Mais remove your shoes. Mais remove your wigs. The doors. Are they locked and bolted?
Everywhere I look, I see the repulsive sight of hundreds, thousands of revolting little children.
Hello, and welcome to my 31 Days of Halloween Makeup series. As you can see, today's look is inspired by the epic film The Witches, starring Angelica Houston playing the Grand High Witch. I was obsessed with this film growing up, and if you haven't seen it, it's a must-see for this October. So I used a bald cap and a prosthetic as well as ears for this look. I know you want to see how I did it, so stay right there. All right, let's get started. I'm going to start with 99% alcohol and clean off the areas of the skin where I'm going to be using any type of glue. I am using a bald cap. I'm stuffing it with some sheets of foam that you'd find in packaging. You can always use cotton pads or cotton balls or whatever you have around the house. The Grand High Witch has a really bulbous dome-shaped head, so I need to stuff it to make sure that I raise my forehead up to match hers. I am tracing along the edge of the bald cap, and I'm using Pros-Aide liquid to attach it to my forehead. Now usually you'd want to cut the bald cap or melt the edges with acetone, but since I am putting a prosthetic over this, it's actually easier just to leave it intact. Now I'm taking my acetone and I'm just creating some holes right around those ears so I can pop my ears through, and I'm going to be putting the fake ears over these later. Here is my Wuchi foam prosthetic. It's called Hagatha. I'm tracing along the edges of where I'm going to be placing it so that I can use Pros-Aide and go ahead and apply it to the bald cap. Pros-Aide is really sticky and it can be really hard to take off. You need a specific remover for it, so it actually helps to be able to glue it onto the bald cap instead of onto the skin. It just simplifies the removal later. If I glue down all of the edges, I am putting a little bit of Pros-Aide on my nose, along my cheeks, and of course around the mouth area, because I'm going to need to make sure that that's nice and secured. Be really careful when you're putting Pros-Aide around the eyes. Now I'm taking Pros-Aide cream and I'm just blending all of the edges of the forehead and the cheeks into the bald cap. And I'm taking some liquid latex on a stippling sponge and I'm just stippling away around the mouth to blend those edges. Now you can blend the edges with just liquid latex, but it'll take you longer and more layers. I'm powdering everything before I start my paint job to make sure it's nice and dry. I don't want my brushes sticking to it. For my paint job, I'm using my Bic alcohol activated paints. These two sets are from Kryolan, and I'm starting out with a blood red, really bright red, as my base tone. In order to make the skin look nice and transparent with lots of layers, I layer a lot of colors. So I start out with this red tone, and then I'll go over it with a couple of different colors of highly pigmented foundation in various skin tones. I'm going in around the eyes with a small detail brush to fill in the eye area and make it match the rest of the skin. And now I'm taking a highlighter and I'm just highlighting the high points of the prosthetic. So the eyebrows, underneath the eyes, those cheekbones, the center of the forehead. And I like using chip brushes because they work really well with the alcohol activated paint. I can also use them to spatter, like you see here. I'm just taking chip brush and flicking my finger on it to spatter the color all over the skin. It really breaks up the skin and makes it look more natural. Using small detail brushes, I go in and I deepen all of the crevices of the wrinkles with brown. Now I'm placing the color on really dark at first, and then I'm taking my brush and I will blend those out and soften them with just alcohol on the brush later. The Grand High Witch wears this gorgeous, beautiful light blue eyeshadow, so we're covering the large sockets of her eyes with that blue shadow. And now I am going over and stippling over all of those dark edges, those dark lines with a stippling sponge that just has some alcohol on it just to soften those lines. She has a lot of age spots on her dome-like skull, so I'm going to go in and add a bunch of those. And I'm going to darken up those nose holes because she has really large, super dark nose holes. Using a small detail brush, I go over and I highlight all of the areas that are raised up, all those wrinkle areas I want to go over and re-intensify with my highlighter. Just touching up the sides of the face. She does have a lot of gnarly bumps on the sides of her face. And now I'm going to attach my ears. So I take my Pros-Aid and I apply it generously around the sides of the bald cap and the prosthetic, and then I can stick my ears on. Now I did pre-make these ears. They are the Wuchi Demon ears, and I modified them using gel effects. I'm darkening up the eye sockets with some black aqua color to add some more depth to the eyes. Now she doesn't wear a lot of eyeliner in the film, but I just thought it looked right with the black. And then I go over with a red lipstick and a blood red lip gloss. Using matte spirit gum, I apply that to the top of the head and just take a couple of loose hairs that I cut off a wig and roll them onto the dome with the back of my brush. Our last finishing details are some glam earrings and of course a satin cape because she's fancy. That's it for this look. I hope you guys enjoy it.
Something stinks. Thank you so much for watching, you rotting, stinking children! If you enjoyed this video and you love reminiscing on the Grand High Witch and the Witches film, please share this with somebody who will also appreciate it. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the other Halloween looks that I'm coming out with this October. Follow me across social media at Daniel Adams MU. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you right back here tomorrow. I'm just obsessed with the wiggling. I mean, it's so good!